Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today I'm going to be installing the support for the insulation for the floor of our tiny house. Yesterday I cut one roll of this. This is what we're using for the support. This is hardware cloth with 1/4-inch holes, and what we're going to do is attach that to the underside of the joist, and we'll put the insulation in from the top. I figured out last night that I actually cut these wrong. What I did was just put the roll here, rolled it over the top, held it in place with some rocks, and I measured 1.25 inches past each side and cut it to that length. The 1.25 inches is the depth of my bending tool. I'll show you that in a little bit. But I should have measured from here to the grade beam over there. So I'm going to have to get the right measurement and figure out the right length that these need to be and cut a little bit off at each one of those, which kind of sucks, but it'll only take a minute or so on each one. So my plan is to take each piece with the end bent and kind of fit it in place, and then reach up underneath and staple it in place as best as I can, and then go along with screws and put screws, I don't know, maybe every 8 inches or so along the sides or along the joist, and possibly 3 or 4 at each end. I'll kind of figure that out as I go, and hopefully by the time I make it to the end I'll be real good at this. Okay, let me figure out this actual length, and then we'll get one cut and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so here's what happened. I started to work on the first one and it started raining. So I got all of the tools, put them in the gator, and it was just me and the stapler. I got the first one done. It rained the entire time, and then it started slowing down, but I figured I'd get the second one in and show how you do 2 of them because they're kind of tied together. I'll show you that in a minute. But I got the second one in and it started raining again. So I've been going back and forth, pulling tools in and out of the gator. The rain is pretty much past now, but it's, I believe, like 5 hours later. I guess these take roughly an hour to do each, not including cutting the part from the roll. So what I'm going to do, I have 4 more left. I have to open up the roll, get those 4 cut. I'll show you how I cut them, and then we'll get at least 2 done. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get all of these done tonight. I don't think I'll be able to get all of these done tonight, but at least I'll be able to show you how they're done. Oh, and I did this. See if you can see that. I covered the water riser. I still have to cover the front, and I'm going to do some foaming and stuff in here, but where it overlaps, I got it all stitched together. Yeah, I guess this probably took 2 hours to do this one, so I'm going to guess they take a little bit under an hour to do each, but if you include cutting it out of the roll, they probably are about an hour a piece. Alright, so actually, I'll show you this right away too. This is 1/4 inch by 3 foot, and what I'm doing is cutting it exactly in half and then lining it up with this edge, and then it'll go a bit past on the other side. I'll show you why I'm doing that in just a minute, but for now, let's get 4 of these cut. Okay, I showed you the entire process from cutting the strips to putting an entire one in. Now, I'll show you exactly why I'm doing it this way. What I did on this first one, exactly like those, I stapled it on both sides. Let me show you on this little mock-up I have here. Okay, so this outer one has the screen, the hardware cloth, flush with the outside edge. And as you just saw, I put in a bunch of staples. So this would be connected to that inside one as well. This represents this joist right here. So I put screws in that inside one right away, and then this one does not get screws after the first layer of hardware cloth. When I come in and put this next one in, like this, it actually hangs over about a 1/2 inch. Now it has 2 layers of staples. Then I come back and put the screws 5 to 6 inches on center. And that makes it incredibly strong. One thing to note is that all of these hardware cloth strips were split in half. So they have one edge that has these pokey stabby things, and the other edge is nice and smooth. On every single one of these, I put the smooth edge on this side because I have to reach under there and put the screws in. I did it on every single one except for the one where I showed you how to do it. And that one had the pokey stuff on the outside, and I stabbed up my arm like 4 or 5 times. Was bleeding like a stuck pig. The reason for the narrow panels is that I can't reach any further than the 16 inches. I have roughly 3 feet of reach, but there's no way that I could get under there and screw all the way to here. And you would really need to do it like this or something very similar. If you have access to the entire bottom side, if this was higher up, you could put much wider sheets in here. Couple of other things. You saw when I first started out and at various times during the installation that I used a little tool to lift it up and pull it tight. That was a clipped head galvanized nail that I found on the ground. It was from putting things together here, and it was just laying there, and I was thinking I need to go find something that I can lift this up with, and I saw it right there. This works perfect. You just get it in there and you can lift up and pull it tight. There's no way you can reach and grab the edge of it or anything, and there's nothing you can do from the underside. You got to use something like this. Pretty cool. So clipped head nail worked just fine, and when I was putting the screws in, you can't see what you're doing. You can't remember where your last screw was, so I just took a shim and then put another screw in, moved that, and on all the way across. I also cut out for this riser, and I made the cutout pretty big, and then came back later and took a piece of scrap and laid it on the top, drew my circle, cut that out, and then just pieced it in. And then I stapled that in over here and stitched it over here. I'll show you how to do the stitching on this last obstacle right here, these 3 pipes. One last thing before we continue working. I can't see, oh, right here. There's a tiny little gap right here. I'm going to go over this whole thing and look for gaps like that They're mostly going to be right at these hurricane straps, but there may be some. No, that's pretty tight. Tiny little gap right there. What I'm going to do is go over the entire thing really quick. Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap right there. I'm going to take Pest Block, which is a type of spray foam, and like this pipe, I'll go all the way around. And what it does is it inhibits bugs and mice and rats from going through there. They don't like the stuff. So that'll be the final seal. What this screen is here for is to support the insulation and allow it to breathe. And it's also here to keep mice out of it, because the mice are going to want to get up here and make their nests in the insulation. Okay, I'm going to get these next two done, and then I'll get back with you on this last one and show you how we do the stitching and stuff on these risers. Okay, I got this second to last one in, and it was the hardest by far. What I had to do is just get it started from the outside, and then I couldn't reach back to here because I was doing it from the next bay over on all the other ones, and I just couldn't reach it, so I had to crawl under there. And I have vertigo, so my head was swimming the whole time. Just real nasty. Alright, now I gotta measure from here to here and add about a 1/2 inch, so it's like all the rest of them, and then get that last one cut. And I need to make sure that I have the nice smooth edge to work with out here so I don't get all ripped up. And then I gotta measure for this stuff and get that cut. When we get all that stuff done, I'll show you what it looks like. We'll get it in place, and then I'll show you how to stitch a patch on it to fill the openings. Okay, I got my last piece cut and only got one poke in the process. Yeah, this stuff is hard to work with. It flops around, and you got all these pokey stabbies all over the place. So you're going to get a little bit of blood if you work with this stuff, but it is a really nice material for what we're using it for. Okay, hopefully these are in the exact right place, because I don't want to mess with this anymore. Okay, the last one was very easy, as you can imagine. Okay, I traced out this pipe, and I just guessed at part of that pipe, and this should fit pretty well. So we'll get that in there. I'm going to make another piece for right here and another piece for right here. Then we'll get these stitched in. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I got 4 or 5 pieces in here kind of overlapping, and now I'm going to stitch them all together, and we're going to do that with the wire that wraps this stuff up when you buy it. All you got to do is cut yourself a bunch of little pieces like this, and then we'll get back over there and do some stitching. Alright, the reason I use the wire that wrapped this stuff is that it's nice and galvanized, just like the hardware cloth, and it's easy to work with. Just bend it into a U shape and then stick it up from the underside. It can be kind of hard to do this. Then you take a lineman's pliers. Oh, dropped one. Alright, then take a lineman's pliers, get all the way down there, and then twist a couple times, and then either cut it off or just push it over, and that'll yank it down nice and tight. This area right here has 3 or 4 different layers, And we'll just stitch all those together. Kind of hard to see with this blazing sun. It's been overcast the last few days, so this is kind of nice in a way, but it's a bit warm. I've used a couple of specialized tools. Some are made for this, some are made for something else, but they are the correct tool for this. And I'll list all them in the description and the comment below, or the pinned comment below. One of them is a sheet metal bender. This is not sheet metal, but it works beautifully on it. Got the lineman's pliers, snips, and a few other things that I'll list. I don't have to go nuts with this. I just don't want it coming apart. Any little openings that are left, I'm going to use that pest block foam to keep the critters out, and the insulation itself will push all this stuff flat. Okay, we are all done. It took the better part of 2 days, and it was fairly difficult, but this is going to work really good. I'll tell you about how the insulation works in that video, and I believe that'll be the next video. And then the video after that, we'll be putting the floor in. That's going to be pretty difficult. It's not real technical, but it's going to be real difficult. The floor panels are incredibly heavy, and we can't walk on any of this. So I'm going to have to put boards going across. We're going to have to slide the panels into place and have people on both ends, and then slide it up underneath that and drop it into place. It's going to be glued as well. So that is going to be a very difficult process. Putting the insulation in is going to be a relatively easy process. And while we're doing that, I'll describe how it's going to work. So if you want to see either one of those videos, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.